Hello and welcome to this edition of the program. Tonight we are engaging once again the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honourable Professor Mike Oquaye. He's very concerned about matters that's been going on in the world and in Ghana around the Commonwealth Summit that was held in London over the last month or so. He's also very concerned about the description that has been attributed to him by a UN top official, Mr. Philip Alston, who said in non-complimentary words that the Speaker was deluded in reference to the speaker's position on homosexuality. The matter on homosexuality has become quite big, and Theresa May, in speaking with President Akufo-Addo ahead of the Commonwealth meeting, also said and actually pledged that Britain was going to help Ghana to sort of amend our laws and accommodate homosexuality. These laws that the British Prime Minister refers to is the Criminal Offences Act in Ghana, which was passed on from the British Colonial Authority to the new Ghanaian Authority. And it prohibits what it describes as unnatural carnal knowledge of another, a man to a man and a woman to a woman. So, Speaker, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
This is getting quite controversial, and is these days, every African leader must answer the question. Museveni has been asked the question. The Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta has been asked the question. President Akufo-Addo has been asked the question twice about homosexuality. Why do you think that there's such groundswell of opinion in the international media about Africa's position on homosexuality?
Thank you very much. If you recollect, you and I had a very good interview during the time of Professor Atta Mills as president. He took a very firm stand against homosexuality. He said he will not introduce a bill and he will not support any such movement, and he believed it will not happen. At that time, the British Prime Minister was so cheeky.
David Cameron, it was.
Yes, so cheeky. I will not mince my words, as to threaten, mentioning Ghana in particular, among others, that they might take sanctions against us if we did not support homosexuality. To my mind, it was very offensive. We have a lot of respect for the British. We have a long tradition of friendship and good relationship with them. If you really knew what you were about, a country in which our balance of trade favors them. Today, British companies buy cocoa in Ghana. Mm-hmm. We preferred them when a British company was buying an Australian company which would have been the first to discover oil in Ghana. I happen to be Minister of Energy. Mm. These are the people who are complaining. And then you turn around. We've got reserves in their bank, which they use. And for short, our balance of trade favors them.
That's controversial. Our balance of trade favors them. Words, why do we borrow money from them?
It simply is that when we look at import-export vis-a-vis each other, we import more
from them.
Short. In our
and they rely on our cocoa.
Well, and they rely on it and they virtually pay according to their price. Mm. But that is a different matter. Mm. But the fact still remains that we trade with them and we give them all manner of privileges. In fact, most of the time we go by Ghana Air. If we want to connect other areas, we do.
You mean British Air?
British Air. Mm. So you realize that when you threaten us, it's rather unfortunate, to say the very least. I wrote a letter to the British Prime Minister. I delivered it personally at the British High Commission. You know, it should tell you that I personally...
When did you write this letter?
Soon after that threat.
From Cameron?
From Cameron.
And at that time, you were Deputy Speaker of Parliament?
I was Deputy Speaker. And at that time, President Mills was President of the Republic. Mm. So definitely, I'm sure these are some of the antecedents why this gentleman will want to chide me when he is making...
But he is from the United Nations.
Yes. You know, in that interview, I warned about something. Homosexuality has become a global lobby.
Lobby.
Yes. Very powerful international lobby. They do all manner of things. And they've got so much money. Of course, money has made them a threat. I remember very well President Obama's stance when he was being supported by the conservatives, Baptists, Southern Baptists, and so on, in his first step. By the end of it, he had really compromised into homosexual stance. There's no two ways about that. Why? Because it's a very powerful lobby. And they can sponsor people to assist a person to get a visa, to declare you a person who needs asylum, and justify it for you. All to make a point and drag people into homosexuality.
Let me bring you back to President Obama. His predecessor, Donald Trump, has said clearly, as President of the United States, that homosexuality is evil and that America belongs to God. So maybe the lobby have not been as successful as you think they have been.
Oh, well, they may still be trying, I don't know. But there was a change which really pained, the Christian belt of the United States. Mostly Baptists, like I'm telling you, who supported him. So you realize that homosexuality is not just a matter of some preference which is not acceptable to many, but also something that is being financed and supported, advocated, pushed by a powerful international lobby. And in that interview, I remember saying, they will take our young men to the United States and other European nations, Western European nations. Before they return, they'll be wearing pampers. And it's not a joke, because it has been proven, established. If there were time, I'll give you references in terms of real international medical research. Anybody can Google it, and I've got all the references here.
We'll talk about medical and talk about the law in the light of the European Human Rights Court decision. But let's try and look at this matter also from a cultural perspective and perhaps from an intellectual perspective as well. Historically, Africans used to terminate the life of twins, didn't we? When people were born as twins, we killed them. Over 100 years, 200 years later, we don't kill them anymore. Modernization has indicated to us that twinhood is not evil because it was thought to be evil. The apologists of gay and lesbianism are making that argument, Prof, that it has to take the shape of a modernity and new thinking for us to accept it. Because but the fact is that we didn't accept twinhood, we killed them. We didn't accept disabled children, we killed them. We said they were evil. Now we don't kill them anymore. Is the argument therefore that it is a backward philosophy that makes us continue to believe that homosexuality is evil? How do you relate to that?
You see, these advocates who talk about change, attitude, preference, need to know that every change has a limit. If you keep on talking about change in society, you will change everything, but you cannot change a man into a woman and a woman into a man, as society is. Society is built on ideas, beliefs, values. You cannot just build a society in a vacuum. These ideas, beliefs, and values are what hold us together. A child is taught, otherwise he or she may not really be a human being. You cannot behave in an animalistic manner and yet call yourself a human being. Society has got rules, ideas, beliefs, and values. In fact, like you know very well, political philosophers have made us realize that life outside society that is with rules and regulations, is nasty, brutish short. One time when I was delivering a lecture to law students in Legon, the annual law student occasion, I said, law is a power of society. In fact, your wife is your wife because the law says so. It's interesting. Love and romance and everything apart, society must recognize that this is that person's wife. That's why you go and give a drink. That's why there's a system by which a man and a woman become man and wife. Otherwise, when somebody meets you on the road, walking with your wife and holding her hand, and he's more of a macho than you, he can just come and beat you off and take her away. But it's not allowed. What makes these not to be allowed? Because society has rules and regulations. I want us simply to realize that in the African society, it was not the white man who came to introduce the law on homosexuality. It's in the Bible. It is in our traditional system.
What does the Bible say about it?
Oh, it makes it very clear. Having listed a number of categories of people, adulterers, fornicators, and that, and murderers, and so on, it adds homosexuals.
But we don't criminalize fornication.
We don't
criminalize fornication.
We don't criminalize fornication. Yes, that leaves it in the realm of morality.
Shouldn't homosexuality
no,
be so?
Because that is simply a deviant conduct. Otherwise, you see, one should also say, it is my preference to be a pedophile. As for me, I like to have sex with children.
Because children are not mature, their physical body is not ready for it. And so that cannot be.
Fine. So much so that even when the woman is mature, even when the woman is willing, even invites you, the man, society will not allow it.
Because she's not ready.
Because, well, who says she's not ready? The person who says she's not ready is society.
Yes.
You cannot marry your wife, your mother, because society says this is a taboo. It's not acceptable. And you know that taboo has got biological consequences. People are born morons and so on and so forth when there is what the trees call moja fra. You know, you and a man and his sister getting married and bringing forth children and so on and so forth. If the person says, the only woman I love in this world, and she too says, the only man I love in this world is my brother, why don't you leave them alone? But you can't. A person is inclined towards stealing. You know, some people say they are born like that. And in fact, there are some strange cases where you must really understand, why does this person just steal, excuse me, by heart? That wouldn't mean, therefore, that it must be translated into a human right. And that's why I say homosexuals also have rights. And in Ghana, when we don't need a British Prime Minister or anybody else to tell us that homosexuals also have rights. We know it. And that is why our Constitution provides against maltreatment.
You mean they have rights to practice homosexuality?
No, they have rights that when they are caught, they must be dealt with according to the law
they shouldn't be
of
beaten
Ghana.
Up.
They should not be beaten up. Excuse me, say you cannot castrate them because of that particular act, nor treat them in any inhuman manner according to the Ghana Constitution.
We shouldn't do that.
You can't do that.
But if homosexuality is outlawed, so you take them to the court.
So you take them to the court and deal with them according to law.
But so the law will take them through a criminal prosecution.
Sure.
And put them in prison.
And put them where the law requires them to be put, just like a thief.
If they are found guilty.
If they are found guilty.
Yes. Why should we criminalize a person's sexual preferences? Why don't we criminalize fornication?
Supposing
and a married woman who has sexual intercourse with another married woman or an unmarried woman.
Is morality. But then let us talk about bestiality. A man says, my sexual preference is with an animal. A woman says, my sexual preference is with an animal. Society says no. your rights are limited and regulated by society. Some
societies allow it. In the Netherlands.
All these are deviant conduct, and they must be dealt with.
But we shouldn't deal with fornicators.
You know what? The two are very different. Let me just complete this. A person goes to the animal world. He goes to sleep with animals. Both men and women sometimes who are deviant do it. All right. That person may bring disease into the animal, from the animal world into the human world. You see, God didn't just say something and punish people in terms of Sodom and Gomorrah and so on and so forth, like we all know. Because in making his creature, and this is something I want us to think carefully about, God said himself, he made each of its own kind. The book of Genesis is very clear on this. He made each creation of its own kind. And that's why you will see, for example, that dogs don't have sex with cats. You know, and so on and so forth. All the animals, male, female, male, female, male, female. And even the dogs don't have, male dogs don't have sex with male dogs.
Okay.
And let me add, you see, this kind of so-called unbridled liberty and choice is not a human right in any aspect of humanity at all. Because if my right is to slap you, I feel like slapping him, and then you turn it into a right. You can imagine we'll go back to that brutish, short, crude society that Hobbes and others saw, which you learned so well about. We must be careful about this unbridled interpretation of human rights, because you cannot say, I feel like raping children. I feel that's a strong edge to steal, and it is my nature. And allied interpretations.
Let me ask you something that Philip Alston said. He said that what you don't know, Mr. Speaker, is that a lot of Ghanaians are now homosexuals. He said that too. And so he's talking about the preponderance of the right in terms of majority. They are inching towards a certain significant number. Democracy is about recognizing the rights of majorities. So if they were to attain the majority number in terms of numbers in the country, what position would you take? You are a multi-party political democrat.
How many Ghanaians do you hear of?
Because they have to hide it, isn't it? They are afraid.
If it is something that is hidden, it means it's not preferred by society. It's not approved of society. By society.
I mean, you can hide something that may be good for society. When the independence struggle started, the meetings that were held by J.B. Danquah and others were held in secret.
Oh, no.
In South Africa, Mandela and his Rivonia activities were all held in secret. But it was good for the country.
Yes, but you realize that you don't have the society approving of this. This man was speaking in vacuum. What social research had he conducted so as to come out with that weird conclusion that Ghanaians, support in the majority?
So many people are homosexuals.
Who are those many people?
So you don't agree with that conclusion?
I don't agree with that. And in fact, it's baseless. That is not how social science research is conducted. He must show us his source and how he came by that rather strange conclusion against the preponderance of ideas and beliefs and values. Those people are pretenders who want to adopt Christian practices even into homosexual marriages. You see, when you see a Muslim Amelia, you know it. You see a Christian group marrying according to Christian tradition, you know it. This is a Christian wedding going on. Very good. And the traditional marriage too, we know it. Then some people want to kiss themselves in the church, man and man. Or you go to some place where now, when there's going to be a traditional marriage, a man with a beard comes and a woman with some mustache comes and they say, oh yeah, Jiawari, Abi Yoshi. Tell me how many Ghanaians, by any social research, have shown preference, even accommodation, acceptability for this kind of thing. You see, we cannot contort our values and still maintain that we are Christians. When our president was confronted, Nana Akufo-Addo, by one of these interviewers, of course, hired by the international gay lobby, he said, I don't account to you, I account to Ghanaians. And he made it clear that that kind of conduct is unacceptable to his people, the people that he accounts to.
But are you confident? Are you confident that the president is not being influenced one way or the other by the big lobby? Because he's been criticized by his opponents for not taking a very firm stance comparable to that of Professor Mills. You are the Speaker of Parliament and you know him quite well. Are you confident that the president is sharing your views?
100%. He's made it clear in all his discussions that it's not about to follow this weird way into even introducing this to Parliament. I tell you, in all honesty, any president who will sleep badly one night and bring such a, if the cabinet will not agree. And this president, who anybody who knows him well, will say, this cannot come from Akufo-Addo. And in fact, he's rebuffed them. You know what? When people talk about human rights in this way, actually they insult us. Our president has come to talk about one district, one factory. He's come to talk about water for his people. He's come to talk about health for Ghanaians. He's come to talk about a new partnership that will enable us process our raw materials and become real partners on equal basis. But everywhere you go, you are being inundated with homosexuality. It's very annoying and very offensive. You know, our problem really is health, poverty, misery, disease, our women delivering on the Kolebu floor, our children dying before they can see the light of day, the kwashiorkor that is haunting us. What are those who are interested in the human rights of Africans doing for us in terms of helping us to eliminate malaria, for example? In the United States, when you go to Florida, a place very well known as Cocoa Beach, I've been there personally, you will see plenty of mosquitoes. The anopheles in them has been totally eliminated. When they bite you, they can't transfer anything to you. Why don't they help us to deal with this matter in terms of human rights? In fact, anybody who accosts any African leader with homosexual issues any further, we should let that person know that he or she is insulting us. Because that is not our problem. Honestly speaking, our problem is the poverty, misery, and disease.
And democracy.
And the deepening of democracy. Why do they want to major in such irrelevant minors? We want to major in the minors. We want to live as long as they live. You know what? Homosexuality has got very serious health consequences. If you were to go into a number of these matters downloaded from the internet, among other things, you know that it is promotional of AIDS.
HIV.
HIV. Why? Because the walls, of the male or the human bottom are easily cracked by external penetration. God did not make the anus for external penetration. He made it for internal penetration outside. So when you force that situation in it, you really do a lot of damage to the walls. And you know, the cracks encourage AIDS. As a result of this, well documented, Googled in 5 minutes. And for our children, young men and women in particular, to know this, so that they don't take this thing as some fashion. It's not a joke. And the medical evidence is propense. And for that matter, we would like people to know that this is not our business. In the United States, a lot of people who are suffering from AIDS are able to live as a result of new medication found. But you know, they are extremely expensive. So when an African gets AIDS vis-a-vis an American, the American will live for a while, whilst the African is long gone. Is that the thing they want to recommend to us for our people? So we have got, in fact, they should stop tempting our African leaders. What they asked Museveni, asked Akufo-Addo, and all these things. No wonder our president told them to get off, because he does not answer to anybody but Ghanaians, who of course don't want. He's accountable not to some global homosexual lobby, but to Ghanaians. He's made it clear that to the best of his knowledge, Ghanaians are not interested in that agenda. It is a very polite way of speaking sometimes, that if some time comes, because after all, the British had a different set of mind some time ago, and Ghanaians want to now debate this matter further. Well, they may. Of course, he talked about the debate. But today, Ghanaians, in view of our national priority of the day, food, poverty, disease, our housing, we are not, it does not even arise for our discussion.
Speaking for yourself, Professor Mike Oquaye, as Speaker of Parliament, if tomorrow the Attorney General were to inform you that Cabinet has approved an amendment to the Criminal Offences Act, in particular the section that describes as an offence unnatural carnal knowledge, and that you as Speaker must preside over the process of the reading the amendments in the first reading, second reading, and third reading of Parliament, would you resign as Speaker?
I will not preside over this. You see, there's a time when a man or a woman must be guided by some principles.
So in that circumstance, you would leave Parliament?
If it happens, and I know it will not happen, because we are in Ghana.
But if it happens?
If it should happen,
yes,
just by way of conjecturing,
yes,
I will leave.
You leave the Speaker's
I will not
chair.
preside over that. No. I will not preside over that, and I will not be part of that. It will be a matter of serious principle, including my Christian ideals. You know, I've told you, homosexuals, Ghanaians recognize them as also having rights. Like thieves.
So we don't have to beat them up. Yes, you already made that point.
So
now,
it must show you that their perception is rather flawed. And I'm so confident about the Ghanaian position from the point of view of social research. In fact, I'm looking forward to bringing a book on this. Because look at some young man, as Professor Alston, I don't know how old he is, you know, making such remarks that me deluded over that matter. If anybody should bring such a thing in Parliament, and I have to preside over that, I would rather resign than subscribe to this delusion.
That's interesting, Mr. Speaker. Now,
you know, I'm 74 years old.
Now,
you know,
congratulations.
This year, 4th April, I was 74.
Belated happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And for a man like that, and for all that I believe I've stood for in life, politics, society, law, political science, philosophy, and others, I mean, how do I throw all these away one day in order to preside over that which I am inherently against, including my Christian principle? It's not possible.
I'm having a conversation with the Speaker of Parliament of Ghana, the Right Honorable Professor Mike Oquaye. He's outraged about the pressure on African heads of state on homosexuality. He's been taking this stance for a very long time as a politician and a leading figure in Ghana's socio-political sort of mix. We'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
The fact of the matter is, naturally, the orifice provided for having sex, it's not the anus, Paul. It is not the anus. Everybody knows what it is. So if I come to you in your own house and you're sitting there and you're taking food and you're putting in your ears, you take the food and put in your ears. Do we need a conversation on the fact that there's a problem? As I heard one of the ministers when she was being vetted say, do we need a conversation about the fact that you might have a problem? That's not the orifice for having, and so naturally, the anus was not created for sex. President Obama says period. I say period to him too. Because how can you have sex through the anus and say that that's right? That's what homosexuality, all this, what's it called, orientation, that's what it's all about. And Paul, I'm being graphic because, and I've said it on your program, what they have done is always to garnish this homosexuality. They say it's sexual orientation. But when it comes to what we call female circumcision, look at the words that they use. Mutilation, sexual mutilation. Go and see the anus of a human being when a penis is used there on a continuous basis. You destroy the sphincters, and then the feces just come out. Paul, is this not mutilation of the anus? It's the same thing. But I'm just saying that when you use them, everything about Western Europeans is fine. Ours is always bad. That can't be right. On the natural basis, biologically can't even be justified.
So, do you want Zoom Lion to come and tell you throwing rubbish out of your vehicle can cause serious accident? So, do you want Zoom Lion to come and tell you that improper management of waste can cause cholera? So, you want Zoom Lion to come and tell you to stop sweeping this rubbish into the gutter? And when once you do this, the gutter will choke.
You remember 2011, people died because of flood. You remember? All because the gutters are not free. So you are waiting for someone to come and tell you to stop dumping refuse inside the gutter. Stop dumping refuse inside the gutter. I am shouting. Stop it!
This public service announcement was brought to you by Zoom Lion. Zoom Lion, helping keep Africa clean.
The lobby that we talk about, the homosexual lobby, it seems to have very learned and powerful people. Top journalist, Anderson Cooper of CNN, for instance, has publicly said that, yes, he is homosexual. I believe that Richard Quest, also of CNN, has said so. And there are many influential musicians all over the world who have said so. And there are many academics, congressmen, Anglican bishops. You know, you are coming from the Christian background. Yes. Anglican bishops have said that they are gay. If it's such a bad thing, how does it attract such influential and supposedly learned people in society?
You know, one of the things we must avoid is to be unduly influenced by sad practices, no matter how much apparently intelligent people subscribe to them. You know, our Christian principles, and Ghana is a Christian country.
But you have bishops who subscribe to it?
Of course.
They are Christians.
Then you must weigh what is their stance against the Bible, against the basic Christian principle. Christian principles, you know, the Bible tells us that, and for the first time, the followers of Christ were called Christians in Antioch. And it happened because they followed faithfully the principles of Christ. There is a man who established one man, one wife, who established a relationship between a man and a woman.
That's an interesting point.
And this man will take this woman as his wife. That is Christian.
Okay, polygamy.
And for that matter, a person who tells you that I am a Christian, yet I will not go the Christian way, must re-examine himself.
Polygamy,
it's as simple as
polygamy is outlawed in England, for instance.
Yes.
In England, you can't have polygamy.
No.
The anti-homosexual lobby in Ghana, which is led by Moses Wamweni, the lawyer, is putting the question to the British that why don't they accept polygamy in their rules?
That is really so.
Should polygamy also be criminalized? Because you said Jesus Christ said one man, one wife.
Yeah, polygamy is already a crime.
Where?
In Ghana too, incidentally. You see?
No, it's not. Traditional religion
I
allows polygamy.
I am telling you, the law in Ghana is that if you choose to marry the
British
traditional way, you can have
as many
as you want and who want you.
Yes.
Okay.
Very important.
Yes. But even in Ghana, you cannot mix the two.
If you marry the English way under the ordinance,
if you marry,
you are limited to
you
one
are
wife.
limited to one. Otherwise, a woman who is involved in that can take you to court.
That means then that in Ghana, those who marry under the traditional marriage, which will be more of the marriages, I think, Mr. Speaker, more of our marriages are traditional rather than ordinance.
Yes.
So majority of our marriages would be polygamous, and therefore polygamy is not actually a crime in Ghana in this widest expression.
No, it's not a crime in Ghana so long as you stick to the polygamous way.
Is it immoral in Christianity, polygamy?
Christian practice does not accept that.
Modern Christian practice does not accept polygamy.
No.
Jacob had two wives.
That I say that is modern Christian practice.
Jacob's own
those
is
ancient days. Yes, of course.
How many wives did Peter have in the New Testament?
Peter had one wife.
Is that what the Bible says?
Yes.
Really?
Peter, it does, because it talked about the Lord curing his wife, his wife's mother, of fever. You see, his in-law. So it didn't say one of his wives, his wife. Paul did not have a wife at all.
No, he didn't marry.
And he cautioned that you don't have to follow him. If you feel you will then marry your own. So that is clear. But even there, it talked about your own wife. One man, one wife. Christian marriage is a union between a man and a woman.
That's as a matter of interest. Why then is the population distributed globally in such a way that women are more? It means that one man, one woman in Ghana will mean quite a few women will not marry.
The difference is not that
apparently
much.
7 to 1, that's significant.
But
7 to 1 is significant.
7
to
men,
1.
7
women to 1. Women are 7 times more.
No,
did the Bible not say elsewhere that a time is coming?
Let's get this clear. The last statistic talked about 51% to 49%.
So that's 1 to 2.
Oh no, that's not even 1 to 2. No. If you take 100 people, you have 49 women. 51 men.
51 women.
51 women and 49 men. Yes, so it's very close.
So 49, there will be 2 left.
Yes, but that's
so 2 women to 1.
But you see, it also happens that female children survive more than male children.
So eventually you have more females.
Yes.
In that circumstance,
when
your one-to-one will leave
children
some
are born, being a female child alone gives you a better chance for survival.
Okay, but that means that eventually you're going to have more
and
girls.
Also, the men, of course, die earlier than the...
Maybe not anymore.
Oh, generally speaking, women live longer.
Yes, but that means that eventually you're going to have more women. So we can talk about that later, about your strong prescription about one man, one woman in the Bible. We've been speaking about the president's responses, and he has made his point clear that even if in the unlikely event that something comes to Parliament about homosexuality, he as Speaker will not preside over that. Mr. Speaker, does it add to your point that the International Human Rights Court had ruled in an application seeking to make homosexuality a human right, that they ruled negatively that homosexuality is not a human right? Have you examined the ruling of the court, the judgment of the court, and seen the reasoning or how they came to that conclusion?
Well, it's interesting, and of course, knowing my position for these number of years, seeing what a man like the United Nations of Special Rapporteur on Extreme Poverty and Human Rights is writing, the man who is responsible for extreme poverty and human rights, knowing the extremity of poverty in our part of the world, knowing that the right to food is a human rights issue, knowing all this and taking this weighed stand, it's of course gratifying that the European Court, the World Court of Human Rights, dealing with an European situation, has ruled, and it's interesting to know that it is unanimous.
It was unanimous?
Unanimous.
All the judges on the bench?
Yes. Of 47 judges.
That's a big number.
I mean, I keep on saying, those who understand human rights will not say it is a human right. You see, the right to be homosexual.
What about those who say that they are born that way? People are born with four fingers.
You know,
people are born lame. That they are born with genes that
I wouldn't dispute that.
Yes.
You see, because deformity takes many forms. It can be mental, mental deficiency, physical deficiency, psychological deficiency, whatever deficiency. Very often we are lucky if we don't have deficiencies in one glaring form or the other. And that's why I say, if a person is found to be deficient, it cannot be turned into a human right, because psychotic inclinations are a deficiency, pedophile inclinations are a deficiency, kleptomanic inclinations are a deficiency. And in fact, there are people who are like that. A person, if all is well, why should he be a pedophile? So you treat it, and in medical forms, in medical
treat it
terms,
medically or spiritually.
Well, I'm coming to that. The medical way of treating it generally is by medication. Sometimes that helps. Or if it is a psychotic deficiency, then it's dealt with in terms of psychology. And that's why mental medicine tells us there is a way of treating people which is not by medication but by psychosis. You know, so that one, psychological treatment to take you out of that deficiency. And of course, if it is spiritual, then we deal with it by way of prayers and other things that will take you out of that situation for which you need to be redeemed. Fine. Let us treat it. But don't turn it into a human right, as these people are purporting to do. And this is the weird thing. Now they have said, the World Court of Human Rights, unanimously, that there is no such thing as right to homosexual marriage. There's no such right. There's no such right. That for you is your human right. I think this alone should shut people like this gentleman up, because that is that famous court. And it says that in that proclamation of a judgment, it was based on a myriad of philosophical and anthropological considerations based on natural order, common sense, scientific reports, and positive law. Yes.
This is the basis on which they came to that conclusion.
Yes. If you look,
natural order.
Yes, the natural order. And that's why I started, for example, by telling you that you cannot ignore the natural order and let there be a society. We'll be beasts. So those people, they are deviants. We're not saying they should be killed or castrated or something. But it cannot be turned into a human right. It must be dealt with. It goes on. And I quote, the traditional concept of marriage, that is the union of a man and woman, is recognized. It goes on. They should not impose on governments obligation to open marriage to persons of the same sex. You cannot. So the Europeans should please, if they have gone the full hog and they want to have their own way following America, they should leave us alone. Because even the World Court itself is actually saying that we are right. We in Africa, we are right. Because you cannot ignore the ideas, beliefs, and values, traditions, and culture, which hold the society together. We say a man can't marry his mother. You can't marry your sister. These are the things that hold the society together and rids us of unnecessary diseases which are inherent in Mojafra. You know, so all these make it very clear to you and to us all that there are regulations. These basics make us a society and make us human beings, because unbridled human rights does not exist anywhere. Now, among other things, they base the judgment on Article 12 of the European Convention of Human Rights. You see, which is equivalent to Article 123 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. And it states what? The International Covenant on Human Rights. It says, the family, and I quote, the family is the natural and fundamental group unit of society and is entitled to protection by society and the state.
The family.
The family. And in Ghana, the Akan saying, Sani no anka, ono British Prime Minister no obetoe. Onyo oba ni obema ba. Yes. So look, it's a phenomenon calculated by Satan to destroy God's best formation. That's the human being.
That's interesting.
Yes.
So it's evil.
Evil. Very, very evil. Dangerous. The church cannot allow it. God loves the sinner, but he hates sin. We love them, but we will treat them, and get them out of that miserable situation. But nobody can forcibly endorse it and translate it into a human right, which must be accommodated and also practiced. So much so that now the lobby is not just asking for accommodation of the miserable, but now they are rather advocating it. And they want to socialize young boys and girls into that practice. If you don't take it, that's what will come to pass. And then it will become another acculturation process of socializing children into a deviant behavior that is not acceptable to society. And if I may add, you see, without ideas, beliefs, and values that hold society together, it cannot stand. What is more, they themselves are showing that they are full of contradictions. Today, when you go to Britain, a polygamous marriage is not acceptable. Why not? If you ask them, why not?
Because it's against their culture.
Exactly. Then why do they want to impose something on us? It's as simple as that. They can't impose any such thing on us. A prostitute who says, oh, it's my own body. Me, I don't have anything. All I have is my body. I'm a beautiful woman and men want me and they are prepared to pay for my services, which of course even they do in private. Why do you want to worry me about that? It's my right to choose how I make money. The British, would they allow that? They say no, you can't sell your body
publicly.
No, even privately.
No one will see if you're doing it privately.
Yeah, whatever it is. You cannot sell your body as a prostitute. You will be punished, including even the pimp, that's the promoter of that act, and so on and so forth. Why don't they stretch their rather wide conception of human right to that level? Because that too is not acceptable. So you will see that it comes back to the family, natural and fundamental group unit of society. And I'm quoting further, it's entitled to protection by society. Society will protect so many things that promote its ideas, beliefs, and values. Otherwise, we'll go to that state of nature recognized by Hobbes, which will be nasty, brutish, and short, like I taught you some time ago.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
That was the Right Honorable Professor Mike Oquaye, Speaker of Parliament of Ghana.
Brillen nuestras almas en la oscuridad.